Hi, thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate all those that are on the call right now, and if they join us in a little bit, they can participate in the conversation as well. I'm glad that you're here with me. I am Dr. Kari Barron. I'm a naturopath, and I work with people helping them feel better naturally. And we do a lot of different things, but we will not be diagnosing, prescribing, medicating, telling you how to cure something. I'm sharing what I use with my own personal life and how I get feeling better and stay well during cold and flu season. I want to get through a few things because there's a lot to discuss. I think there's a lot of important information that can be culled very easily, and I will follow up with some resources and stuff. I will give you my tools. How well they work on you personally is going to be up to your body and God. We're going to go through a few different aspects of health. So we're going to talk about number one, how to build a resilient foundation. What do we need to do on a regular basis to keep our health at as optimal a level as possible? I really like the whole terrain theory. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but a French dude named Beauchamp or Bechamp, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, up with the whole concept of the terrain theory. So having the external um, environment, how it affects us, the internal environment, the terrain of our body, when it is optimized, it's a lot harder for bacteria, fungus, and things like that to take advantage of us. So making sure that we have that good resilient foundation, we're going to talk about things to strengthen your defenses when it is kind of that cold and flu season, and then ways to take early action and even recognize what is a cold, what's the difference between cold and flu and all of that. So I will address ear congestion. Absolutely. That was something I grew up with. So most definitely I will talk to you about that. I've got some great tools for that. So hopefully I can help you with that. So our first thing, anybody who's ever been on one of my webinars or talked to me, water. That's your biggest, strongest foundation that you always need to have. And I know they always talk about drinking a lot of fluids. I'm all about water itself because if you get good, clean water, your body doesn't have to process anything to get that fluid part out. So getting enough water for your body on a daily, ongoing basis. When it's winter, it's not as warm. You're not doing as many hot, sweaty things. About half of your body weight in ounces of water is a typical recommendation. So if you weigh 150 pounds, 75 ounces of water is your minimum for the day. Now, I live in a desert, so I need to have more water than that on a daily basis, typically because we have the drier climate. I'm very active, I'm sweating a lot, things like that. So those are variables, but remember that minimum is a good one year round as far as water. The second thing I always think is super important is eating real food. Processed, packaged junk is not going to be what your body needs. Vegetables, if you're not a lover of vegetables, do something like Juice Plus. They have veggie and fruit capsules that you can do. Their berry blend is really good as well. They tend to test really well with my clients that do not like having fruits and vegetables very much. So I am more of a eat real whole foods kind of a person as opposed to taking capsules. But if you are one of those that has a hard time, it might help you transition into having more fruits and vegetables. Organic meats. Do not buy meat that's not organic if there's any way possible, because the amount of chemical toxins that you can get through the meat into your body because they gave it to the critter is huge. So organic meats as much as possible if you are doing meats. Seasonal fruit. I know this may sound funny, but the fruit that is in season in the area that you live is very important because it is expressing the ingredients that our bodies need to help compensate for the environmental factors. So if you've got things going on where it's cold and you're in a cold climate, then you want to have those fruits that are producing. We actually have citrus. I can look out my window right now, and we have a bunch of citrus trees. So citrus tends to be more of a winter season kind of a thing. And I've got a ton of grapefruit on my tree right now, and lemons. Our lime tree just died, but lemons and oranges. So those are not summer fruits like a strawberry, summer fruit. But when you have have those good citrus fruits during the winter. Pomegranate is more of a winter fruit, things like that. So seasonal fruits are a good way to go. Number one, when it comes to not getting sick, is avoiding sugar. Really, processed sugar is just nasty on your body. It strains your body. It's hard for digestion, especially high fructose corn syrup. It's very acid forming. So, if you are into having pasta on a regular basis, remember that flours like grains like wheat are processed like the body like sugar. So, if you're kind of hitting that season where it's cold and flu season and you want to, handle that a little bit better, cut back on those things that are more processedy sugars as well. Next thing that our body needs, we got to move. And lymph movement is one of the vital things for us to stay healthy. I actually know a guy here that is called the Lymph Man. He's got thousands and thousands and thousands of followers on Instagram, but I actually know him personally, and he is all about lymph movement. So if you need more support with that, I can get you hooked up. Let me know. But moving your body at all can be huge. So as you're sitting there with me right now, we're gonna do a little lymph movement. And I know this is funny. He calls this his name is John. John calls this the lymph man shuffle. So you take your shoulders and you raise one, lower the other, and go like this. That's helping with the lymph congestion that goes here. If things are clogged right here in your clavicles, so doing this can help with the movement. He has a whole series of ways that we can use our fingers to move things through the lymph here by pulling this way, starting here and working your way out this way. I'm not going to go into a big lymph thing right now, but look up Lymph Man and you'll see John, and he's got some great information. Lymph movement is super important to stay healthy. And the last thing that is a foundation is rest. If you are not getting enough rest on a regular basis, more than likely you're going to be much more susceptible to getting sick. Every time I have ever gotten sick, it's always followed when I have not gotten adequate rest. So priority list, that is super important. We want to make sure that you get enough rest. What we want to do next is how can we strengthen our foundations with supplements on a regular basis? There are a few supplements that I love to use ongoing, and I use them every day. The first one, which for Sonia with your ear congestion could be very helpful. Wow, I didn't realize how dirty this was. Cell Power. And Cell Power is a liquid supplement. You just take the lid off and you put drops in your water. Follow the label instructions, super easy. And you can put it in all of your water. It's just, if you are new to it, it can do some cellular detoxification. So you might want to go a little slow on using it because it adds energy to your body. Cell Power is not minerals. Cell Power is electrical energy that it brings to your body. So it's different than minerals. Minerals can help with the electrical conduction, but this is actually electrical energy, and it's a more complicated explanation than that, but try it. Our bodies have a maintenance level of 25 millivolts of electrical amperage that we need to maintain every single cell. When there's damage to the cell and healing needs to take place, we have to double or triple that electrical energy just so that cell can heal or create a new cell. So when we are in that kind of busy mode or things are going on, stress, things like that, using the Cell Power is a really, really good tool. Made some huge improvements in my husband's health when we first started getting more into health. So Cell Power is one of those things that you can put in your water very easily. Now, Sonia, you asked earlier about ear causing itching, swelling, congestion, all of that. I was born with bad eustachian tubes, I guess, in my ears. As an infant laying in the crib, my mom would come to wake me up. There would be blood in the crib because my ear would be bleeding. Had a lot of ear infections all my life. My parents put me on antibiotics all the time. I discovered later on that I think I had a milk allergy, and that's why I was getting so much congestion in my ears and getting so many infections. But what I do is I use that Cell Power water that I just told you about and dilute it properly. And instead of swallowing it right away, hold it in your mouth. So it doesn't have to go through digestion. Cell Power doesn't. The water is holding the energy. So if you hold it in your mouth, close your mouth, swish it around 15, 20 seconds, it can bring energy to this area. So think about it. If your ear is having a problem because it doesn't have energy to heal those cells, it hasn't increased that energy. If we provide that energy, will it make a difference? Now, sometimes it will quickly, sometimes it won't. I know for myself, if I don't have ear congestion problems and I'm traveling over an elevation change or in a plane and I get that pop in my ears or it's not popping and then I get that congestion, I will use the cell power and immediately it will take care of it. If you've got more of a buildup of infection in there, you may have to do more of it or do other things. Obviously, with all that I'm talking about, I'm not diagnosing, telling you what to do. I'm sharing what I've experienced. And go to a medical doctor if you need to do that. There is no sin in using antibiotics if you are not seeing success using natural remedies. So pay attention to that. If you feel like you need to go to the doctor, sometimes that's your sign that you need to go to the doctor. But I love the cell power for helping with congestion for myself. And that's a really good tool to use for ear things, at least that I have seen some good results with that. You will not put the cell power drops in your ear. Don't do it. I did it once and it was a very, very bad mistake. It will make this, because it vibrates at a really high rate of speed because of its energy level, like a piercing pitch that was super duper high. So do not put it in your ear ever. But if you put it in your water and it's diluted and you're holding it in your mouth, that is a great way to get energy to that area. Biocidin and swish. Different than that, biocidin does not have the energy level. So be aware that there's some different things, but swishing, great with biocidin, but the energy level makes a big difference in a lot of aspects. So the second thing I want to talk about that's ongoing is vitamin D. And I don't have a C right here because my husband has it in the other room, but D3K2, great thing to be taking on an ongoing basis, especially during the winter when we are not getting as much sunlight. And a lot of people still are not getting great production of vitamin D because they aren't getting as much light on their skin, not as much time, things like that. If you're not getting good fats in your diet, you're not going to get vitamin D production either. So that hormone, which is vitamin D, is really important for our overall wellness and all that. Vitamin C, I am really big on having vitamin C that has a combination of things in it. So if you just buy ascorbic acid, good luck. It's really not going to be as easily accepted by the body. So getting a vitamin C that has other ingredients in it. So you could have rutin, hesperidin, acerola cherry, rose hips, a variety of different ingredients. You want to have those companion vitamin C bioflavonoids to help that absorption, because we don't just eat a vitamin C by itself as far as like in nature. So in nature, we have all of these different components. So, vitamin C you can get in fruit. Actually, with citrus fruit, the pith, that white part inside is more beneficial. It has more vitamin C than the actual fruit. It's the juice part. So know that there's different ways to look at it. Vitamin C is something that I will do when I'm not feeling well. I'll tell you a little bit about that later on. But vitamin C, taking it on a regular basis, a great way for your body to be accustomed to it and get those added benefits for your immune system. Another thing that I use is quercetin on a regular basis. I have had a lot of different health issues when it comes to respiratory, lungs, things like that. And I found that quercetin, because of the way that it works on the capacity of the lungs, the flexibility in the lungs, and bromelain, they're both amazing when there are seasonal changes or you are struggling with something that's affecting your respiratory system. Really good to have quercetin. I love this combination, quercetin with bromelain and vitamin C. They used to call it QBC, and they've changed it because nobody knew what QBC was, except for, I guess, me. And I found this out because of breaking my ribs coughing before. So vitamin C, probiotics are another thing that a lot of people want to have on a regular basis. I am not big on one specific brand of probiotics. And the reason is because our microbiome needs diversity. And we want to make sure that we are having a variety of good microbes, the good bacteria coming into our body on a regular basis to kind of rotate through. So I have a product from Cellcore that's called CT Biotic. great one to take. But when you're done with that bottle, I'm like, let's switch to Dr. Ohhira's, or let's switch to a PB8. Get that variety going through your body. And that's where you're going to have the best defense against everything, because each one of those good bacteria can help take care of the bad bacteria. So there's actually probably a chart somewhere. I don't have that chart handy, but it's a really good way for you to keep that good strength of your immune system on a regular basis. The other two things that I do when I'm sick and when I'm well are castor oil packs. So I love Queen of Thrones castor oil packs. And here's my little castor oil pack. I did a video the other day on this. So castor oil pack over the liver area has been something that I do every night. It helps me sleep better. So that other aspect of sleep. And the fact that their castor oil packs have this nice kind of, you can see how it's a little shiny. It's not plastic, but it's a water resistant lining, and you won't have that oil seeping through into your clothes and your sheets near as easily. And they just came out with these liners, and I'm kind of in love with them because it makes it extra like cushy, as well as you can switch out that liner much more quickly than buying a new pack that has that other liner. The insert, you can take that insert out, and then you won't have to replace this very often, because when you get a lot of oil in this, it gets really heavy and then it starts leaking. So I really love the Queen of Thrones, love their brand, love, love, love. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go on. The other thing that I do on a daily basis, I didn't for a while, but now where I live, I think it's huge, is the Navage nasal rinse. This is a big deal. And even probably, Sonia, with what you were talking about with your ears, because this goes into your sinus cavity and shoots some water in there, and it sucks it out. So in one side, it'll go in. Well, actually, this side is the one that it would go into my nostril if I did it like this. And then it gets sucked out the other side. We've got the two little arrows. Very useful on a regular basis. And I was hearing during a webinar sometime, I don't know if it was Navage was talking about it, because I always get real questionable of the source of a study of something, but doing a nasal rinse on a regular basis, they were saying had significantly reduced the incidence of having colds and things like that. So I use it on a regular, everyday kind of thing. Super simple. Instructions are very easy. You're going to fill it to here. Just the one thing that it says this on the instructions, but one thing that I would want to make sure that if you're fully congested, don't even get close to using this. You need to have an air passage for that fluid to come in and out, because if not, you're sucking it and it could be, hurting things there. It's a dynamic that you don't want to do. They have little salt pods that you will insert here. You click it shut, and it's super easy to use the button, but this is great on an ongoing basis. Recently, I had a little bit of a cold, and I did this morning and night, and I think it made a difference for going through the process of getting over the cold a lot faster. Good brand of vitamin C. I really do like Positive Power Nutrition's. I cannot use it because it has rose hips in it, and I am not a person that can do rose hips without having an allergic reaction. So a good brand, and I will give y'all a PDF of information where to get supplements and where to find the ones that I use on a regular basis. You get to do whatever you want with yourself, but I will be giving that sheet to you when we're done. Okay. Where do you recommend buying supplements from? The manufacturer, as much as possible. I will give you some links with Amazon where they are the manufacturer's websites. So you can get them on Amazon that way. Some people love Amazon. I am not in love with Amazon, but when it comes to something like this and ease of availability, it's a good way to go. I tend to go to the website of the manufacturer, because then I know it's the manufacturer's product. And the other thing too, when buying supplements, buy from a local store as much as possible. Those little family-owned stores struggle constantly for their daily, income. And they are there to support and really take care of you as best as possible. So go to the local stores as much as you possibly can. That's a big deal for me. I just think that being a business owner in this world is really difficult, especially with the availability of stuff on Amazon. I look at my local store before I buy something on Amazon, and I know that it takes an extra step or whatever, but if you get these items ahead of time from a local store, then you're not having to do a last minute shop. So next thing, how to recognize the early signs of and symptoms of a cold. So number one with a cold is the snotty nose, cough, and things like that. Sometimes you'll get congestion that has a little yellow mucus or stuff, but typically if it's clear, you've got allergies or a little bit of a cold. And this is all straight from the web. I did not create this list. I'm not telling you if you were sick or not. Sneezing. It's funny, my husband, if he is sneezing, he's getting sick. I can always tell. He never sneezes. I sneeze a lot, but he never sneezes. So that when it's not normal, that's telling me he's coming down with something. Sore throat is where mine is the worst. I get a sore throat, and that's where it tells me that I'm getting sick. So paying attention to that. Coughs, mild or moderate fatigue, those are all cold symptoms. Low grade fever is very rare with cold. So a cold, typically you're not getting a fever. You could be totally exhausted. You may have some body aches, but a fever is, a higher fever over 100 is not typically cold. When you're getting in the higher fevers, that's typically where people pay attention to and call it flu. Body aches, headache, those are other things. Watery and itchy eyes, that happens to me too, with the throat as well as the itchy eyes. Decreased sense of taste or smell, post-nasal drip. And a lot of times people don't realize if they got that in their throat where it's tickly, that's a lot of times post-nasal drip. It's just mucus going down the back. It's not coming out the nose, but it's coming down the back, and that's where that tickle comes from. I have had so many people think that, that they've got acid reflux because they feel like they're coughing all the time. When they go to the doctor, they find out that they've got postnasal drip. They've got some allergy that needs to be dealt with. So those are all cold symptoms. When it comes to flus tend to come on suddenly with very high fever, severe body aches, extreme fatigue. It's like the melodramatic cold, I guess. Allergies may be something that you're experiencing. Typically, when it's allergies, you're not going to have the body aches and things like that as much. Fever wouldn't be there with an allergy as well. I know it's kind of funky, but when I lived in Texas, there would be times when they were harvesting certain crops and people were like, oh, I've got this cold. And I'm like, have you had body aches or anything else? And all it was allergies because of the stuff that was in the clouds people were inhaling. Difference between herx and detoxing kind of depends on where you are with stuff. And that's one of the things that I work with my clients when I have them in a program. We kind of go through different things and I ask questions because there's a lot of different ideas with how to tell if you are detoxifying, and it's called a Herxheimer's reaction where your body is aching versus not. So to me, it's so hard to determine that. It's funny, one of my Herxheimer symptoms is I get freezing cold with chills. No fever, anything like that. But when I'm detoxing, that is a sure sign that I'm detoxing is when I got like teeth chattering cold. And I had that happen the other day. I was doing a liver flush and I'm like, oh my goodness, I am so cold. And I thought, well, I'm detoxing. That's why I'm so cold. Seeing the onset of something. I reach for homeopathics. I love having homeopathics. You're not going to hurt yourself with having them. And these are three that I always keep in my house. Oscillococcinum, yes, that is how it's pronounced. I actually know how to say oscillococcinum. This is for the flu. And I have had so many people tell me, you take one, you follow the label instructions on it, but you take this the minute that you think you're getting the flu, where you're getting that ache and exhaustion and fever, all of that stuff all at once. It's amazing, but you don't want to wait to go get this sucker until you already have symptoms. You want to have this on hand so that you have them right away, especially when you have elderly adults or children. The dosing is different with children, so know that. I don't know if they have one formulated specifically for children, but little kids, they would use a different dosing on this. It's not going to hurt them to have more. You're just pretty much wasting it more than likely, but call the manufacturer with something like that. The other one that I use all the time is throat calm. When I start getting, like I said earlier, one of my signs is that tickly cough. And throat calm is great. It just basically, you take 2 tablets, let them dissolve under your tongue, certain increments, and I will see sore throats go away very quickly. So I keep this one on hand for myself. The other one is cold calm. So this is more nasal congestion, runny nose, sneezing, things like that. So these I always have at my house. And as soon as we run low on one of them, I am restocking just in case of an emergency. These are like my first line of defense. I have other homeopathics that I keep, but these are definitely a go-to. So the second thing that I do is make sure that when I am not feeling well, I am resting. And sometimes I feel like God lets me get sick so that I know I need to rest. Prioritizing rest, I do feel sometimes when I get sick, it's because I need to rest. And that's a real important thing. Rest is going to give your body the ability to conserve energy to heal itself. Remember, we were talking about that energy level. Here's maintenance. Here's where you have to be to get better. You want to make sure that you give as much of this space for the healing as opposed to doing things. And eating is one of those things, which is our next topic, is if you are not feeling like eating when you're sick, don't eat unless you have been sick for so long and you haven't eaten anything for a long time. Do something like bone broth or whatever. But not eating is our body's way of saying, hey, I need this extra energy to heal. When I have to produce acids for digestion, that's going to cause me to lose more energy. So let's make sure that we get that amount of energy for the body to heal itself, as opposed to just eating because you think you have to. So give yourself that break. If you don't feel like eating when you're not well, don't eat. It's not a bad thing. Now, pay attention if you've been not eating for a long period of time. Obviously we need to be looking at extra assistance. Like I said, the Juice Plus capsules are a great option for regular ongoing, but when you're sick, if you're not feeling like eating, maybe taking a few more of the Juice Plus capsules so that your body is getting that nourishment without having to produce a ton of acid for digesting it and all of that kind of thing. So I love Juice Plus for when you're not feeling well as well. Hydration, super important. Like I said earlier, more water is going to help flush out more of that stuff. So keep drinking that water. When it comes to vitamin C, when I am not feeling well, I will do a vitamin C flush. So vitamin C flush is very interesting to me because it has that term flush at the end, and that has to do with both flushing the vitamin C through your body and overwhelming your body with a lot of vitamin C as that antioxidant. But that flush also can be that you end up getting diarrhea. Now, most people go, well, why would I take a supplement that's going to give me diarrhea? It's not how it works. So a vitamin C flush is a way that you can take vitamin C at 1 hour increments during the day and keep track of it. Like put a little tally down, put an alarm on your phone, keep track of how many you take. Because when your body gets too much vitamin C, you will get diarrhea. So keeping track, you can go, okay, so I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 doses of vitamin C. And that's when I ended up getting diarrhea. Okay, so the next day, just do 7 as opposed to that 8, and you won't be getting that diarrhea. And you're still flooding your body with that good antioxidant. So vitamin C flush is amazing. Love it. When I get sick, that is one of the first things that I start doing. Or even if I'm not, I'm kind of feeling like I'm on that edge, my throat's a little sore, I'm like, I'm going to do a vitamin C flush just because it's not going to be harmful when you're not sick. Very much beneficial if you want to do that. The next thing that we do that I do not have handy is zinc lozenges. When you're sick, zinc lozenges are really, really a good tool. Like I said, all of these things I would just keep on hand, make sure that you have them because in an emergency, you don't want to go to the store. So a zinc lozenge, you want to get zinc gluconate. You don't want to get zinc capsules because the receptors in your mouth with the zinc gluconate are really important in that functionality of the zinc. So getting zinc, I would do those a few times a day. The zinc is not something my body tests as much for because I do get a lot of different minerals, but zinc lozenge is a great tool to use. Now, the next thing that I use that I found great results with for myself is elderberry syrup. So sambucol, I was introduced to that years ago when I broke my ribs coughing. And I learned about the vitamin C flush, taking the good probiotics, all that kind of thing at the same time. But the elderberry syrup was one of those things that was really eye-opening to me. Following the label instructions, I was taking dosing on a regular basis. I would get well fast. Now, my son got sick one time and he wasn't getting better. So I thought, well, let's try the elderberry for him. And I was giving it to him on a regular basis, and it almost seemed like he was getting worse. And went to the store where I'd gotten the Sambucol and asked the lady, I'm like, what do I need to do? What's going on with my kid? He's not getting better. And she goes, is he allergic to raspberries? And I said, yeah. And she goes, well, elderberry is in the raspberry family, and you're probably giving him something he's allergic to. So obviously, I stopped giving it to him at that point. But if you have a reaction to someone where you're something that you're not getting better, or someone that you love, you're taking care of, I know that there are people on here that have kids. And if they are not getting better, pay attention to that, because that could be one of the things that's going on, is that there may be an allergy to something within it. So elderberry syrup is one of those things that I absolutely love. I typically keep elderberry syrup in house, but I just found this other product, this brand, Positive Power Nutrition. I started working for them back in 2009. I work for them part-time now, but this Immune Power Complex is a newer product, and it has an black elderberry in it, but it's a concentrate in the capsule. So it's a 50-to-1 concentration. It also has astragalus, amazing for the immune system, and echinacea. You would not take this on a regular basis, because when you are using elderberry and astragalus, well, I don't know about astragalus, but echinacea, you use it regularly, it's not going to help with that immune boost that you need. So it's a sometimes food, kind of like cookies with the Cookie Monster. The other thing that is in here is medicinal mushrooms. So beta glucans are very, very helpful in the immune system. And when at the end of the year, my husband had been struggling with a little bit of a cold, and he decided to share it with me just for New Year's. And I was doing the vitamin C flush. I wasn't noticing the change that I typically do. So I thought, I'm going to add the Immune Power Complex, try it, see how it works. So I took one, and then an hour later, I took another vitamin C and another Immune Power Complex. About 15, 20 minutes later, I was feeling fine. I just had the snotties still. So this was a really good one for my situation personally, but I love the elderberry. I don't have to have a syrup in a bottle. I can do the capsule now, which for me is a nice thing, because syrups get really messy, and I'm not the neatest and tidiest of people for myself sometimes, especially when I'm not feeling good. Echinacea obviously has that in there. And then the mushrooms that are in there are reishi, miyatake, shiitake, cordyceps, chaga, and turkey tail. All of those are great at supporting the immune system. The other thing that I always like to have on hand are essential oils, and I have a couple of different ones that I use on a regular basis. So this one from Vibrant Blue Oils, it's called Parasympathetic. And notice how tiny the little bottle is. They're not inexpensive, but this sucker is great. I tend to be over the top in sympathetic mode instead of rest and digest, which happens in parasympathetic. Parasympathetic mode is where you need to be for resting, digesting, and healing. And so what I do, instead of applying it topically, and it's funny, it looked like I was going to apply it. I had an itch, but I smell it. Essential oils are called aromatherapy for a reason. They do not need to be ingested or put on topically to be beneficial. So for me, the parasympathetic works best just sniffing it. And I will do that multiple times a day to help lower my stress level and support my overall functioning of my body. They also have an immune support blend that is fantastic. I really like this brand because they use organic oil, and they are created by the person that founded the company, and she does it in a very scientific chemistry kind of way, and really tests a lot of people to see how the benefits worked out. So love Vibrant Blue Oils. That brand is spectacular. Now, I do have doTERRA oils too. And I'm fine with doTERRA, Young Living. There are a lot of good brands out there. When it comes to ingestion of an oil, you want to make sure that it is okay to ingest. So peppermint and oregano oil are both okay to ingest. If you're starting to have some coughing, things like that, I love using the peppermint oil, doing a little bit here so that you can smell it on a regular basis. You can put hot water with a couple of drops of peppermint oil, or like eucalyptus, because that's not one that you would typically ingest. You can get a cheaper brand just to inhale it. But I'll like throw a towel over my head, and I'll sit there with a cup of steamy water and put 1 drop of oil in there. That's all you need. You don't need a ton of it. I'm starting to get like the tickly throat thing and it's kind of ramping up a little bit. I will use a drop of oregano oil in tea, and I will do a large cup of tea. I think my teacup is actually close to 16 ounces, the one that I use, but I will do a cup of tea and I will put a drop of oregano oil in there. This is not for the faint at heart. This will burn as it goes down, and it, tastes like oregano. It's like a pizza smell, and you're putting it in tea. But I will put a drop in and I will drizzle some honey over it because that honey kind of grabs onto the oil and helps disperse it a little bit. If you get more than a drop of the oregano oil in your tea, take a paper towel and soak all of that oil up and start again. You do not want to get a bunch of oregano oil. I would never have this with kids either. I would never be giving a child oregano oil because it can be very burny going down. If you get that sensation like, oh, there's a lot, it's burning, throw some coconut oil in your mouth or some olive oil, and that will kind of coat it and help it to transport much more easily. With sore throats, I love using the Redmond Real Salt to gargle. It has a much stronger flavor than other ones. And you think about it, God gave us everything we need for health and life, and our continent supplies our needs with the kinds of things our continent here in the United States, Great Salt Lake. And they do a good job of not refining these minerals. There is no iodide, they're not iodized, all of that kind of thing. But you put some in water, gargle it. Gargling actually helps with getting that salt water going through that area, but it also helps with the vagal tone, which helps with the parasympathetic to keep you in that good healing mode. So gargling with salt water, really good. Using things like teas can be very helpful. If you get to a point where you have a tickly cough that is not going away, I have had this happen a couple of times, so I know this way too well. I have broken my ribs coughing twice, so I actually keep some herbs on hand because of my situation. So pay attention. What are your family dealing with on a regular basis? There are a lot of homeopathics that I would keep on hand besides these that may be more specific for you. For instance, my husband may get a cold sore on a regular basis when he's getting stressed out about something or had a cold or something like that. We use borax for that. A homeopathic 30C borax works great for him for cold sores. So I always have that on hand. There's not a time when he gets sick that I don't have that unless he's just used a ton of it all at once. So for me, and this was from the health food store, the local health food store, when I had broken my ribs the first time or the second time, they suggested Lomadium and OSHA. I really like Herb Farm, this brand. Great quality products, very good consistency. So Lomadium and OSHA and Andrographis have been things that I include in water. So I just open up the bottle and I get a dropper full, and I will do half of the dropper full in 16 ounces of water. I will do the same with the OSHA and with the Andrographis. You can do that with astragalus too. I will put that in my water and I will sip it. Every time I have a cough and it tickles, I will sip. And it's not something I'm downing a whole bunch all at once because of that herby taste. Nope, I'm going to sip it because I know that's going to give me the help in the long term with that tickly cough where I am not getting productions. What happened with me with both of the times I was coughing is I would have like a little pellet, like tiny bit of phlegm that would come up when I would cough, but there was nothing big. So if I do have phlegm, so when I got the snotty kind of stuff that happened at the end of the year, I got some phlegm that was really thick. I'm like, wow, I must not be drinking enough water. And then I thought, oh, wait a minute, I probably need more sodium. So you take a pinch of salt, put it on your tongue, dissolve it, and then follow it with sipping a cup of water. That salt actually breaks up the mucus so that phlegm flows more easily and you can get it out. I almost choked on phlegm that was so thick. I kind of TMI, but I kind of went like this with the tissue. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's thick. It wasn't falling apart, breaking apart. It was really thick. So that's when I started doing the salt. And that information about the salt is in Dr. Batman Gelidge's books. He's got You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty and Your Body's Many Cries for Water, both really good books. They pretty much say the same pieces of information, but he has a lot of good information on salt in those books and how that is so important for our health. But it's so silly with allergies or with a cold or a cough. putting that salt on, having that break up that mucus, it's a game changer for me for a lot of the situations that I've had that have come up. Okay, other things for sinus congestion. Remember, I talked to you earlier about doing lymphatic movement. So we're going to do this again. We're going to do a little lymph movement. So remember, we did this little shuffle. And this is a great tool to use to get your lymphatics moving. And so one of the things that you can do right after that is take your hands and grab onto your traps and just draw this way and go over your clavicle, because that is helping the lymph movement. I'm getting real tingly when I'm doing this. So do this with me. Okay. So gets that moving. It's just so nice, really nice, almost giving yourself a massage. Then you're going to start here and work the lymph down this way. And the reason we aren't just going starting here is because if there's congestion here and we push this down, you're going to have even more congestion. So let's break up the bottom of the funnel, and then we can get things out. So we'll do the next section here, and then the next section is here. Nicole, you're doing it with me. She knows this. She does this too. So do that, and you want it to go to the corner of your jaw right here. This is where you've got a lot of lymphatics. So taking your hand and moving all the way with light pressure. You don't need to do heavy pressure. And then, yay, Nicole. And then going across like this and bringing it down to the jaw again. And then you're going to go back and do this one again. And light pressure. Then we're kind of going backwards where we had been before. And then we're going to do the traps. Do that, and then let's finish up with another shuffle. Okay. Now that is going to make a big difference with moving things through your body. One of the things that I learned recently is that castor oil is really good when you have that snotty nose thing. Like when I was a kid and I got cold, I would get bloody right here. It would be really bad. I adore this new rollerball thing from Queen of the Thrones, and it's a quartz rollerball, and this one's empty because I've used it all up, but it has a nice little rollerball, so you don't have to have like a big bottle that can get drippy and things like that. So when Dr. Marisol and I did the webinar a few months ago, and I would encourage you to watch the webinar, that was a great information on castor oil. But she had talked about using this topically, and one of my clients, my sweet, sweet client that has told me that she has used this for years, Teresa, you have amazing skin, and I want to be like you when I grow up. She uses castor oil on her face every day. So I thought, well, that's a good thing to use. And I thought, I wonder how much of a difference it would make for this little area. Because I had some snot, like the snotty thing, gotten a lot of stuff coming out. So I rolled her ball down on my finger, and then I just rub it on here. The healing process right here went so much faster than it ever has for me in the past. So I love the roller ball. Two, when I'm using my liver pack, I will apply it topically with the roller ball sometimes when I am just thinking I don't want to have a mess on my hands. This thing is spectacular. So if you've never used it, use the castor oil in the roller ball. Just to wrap up, and I'm going to do Q&A too, so please know that, and I will let you guys all unmute yourselves if you want to ask questions. First off, always prevention. Taking care of yourself on a regular basis is going to be the most appropriate way to keep that terrain healthy, you get the best results. Even if you do have something that comes and gets you, even if it's an accident, a collision or something like that, if your body's healthier in the first place, your body knows how to respond and heal itself. God made us beautifully like that. So prevent. Recognize the warning signs. Do you have something like me with the tickly throat when I'm starting to get sick? Or are you like my husband where he starts sneezing when he is starting to get sick? When you have those early signs, nip it in the bud. Get that taken care of quickly. Don't wait until you're sick to go to the store and get this stuff. Get the stuff ahead of time. Be a prepper. I'm not a big on being a prepper, but when it comes to things for cold and flu season, I always have it on hand. And when I don't, it's just because we've gone through so much of it. I would love to help you on a regular basis with personal support. I do work with my clients individually, and I am not one that you just call and say, hey, can you help me with this right away? I would love to make sure your foundations are strong. We get rid of any toxins that could be in your way. We need to identify where those are and all of that. So I have a whole program. I'm going to put in the chat. You can sign up for my Design to Thrive strategy call. And the normal price for that is $4.97. And with this code, because I screwed up on not getting you the right link last time, with this code, I am special, all in caps, no spaces, you can get $400 off that. So it's only for $97, and it's only for the first 10 people that want to do that. It's a very extensive questionnaire. We go through that questionnaire. We look at your health score. We go, okay, what kind of labs do we need to do that your body, so that we can identify what's going on. And then we come up with a plan after that as to what detoxification needs to take place, what nutrients, all of that kind of thing. So the initial call is typically $4.97. Right now, when you use that I am special, it is $97, and that's only for the first 10 people that sign up for that, because that's the space that I have available. I would encourage you to pay attention as much as possible, prep so that you know how to take care of things when that comes up, and let me know if you have other questions. But I'm going to go back in the chat. So Native Americans have used tribesmen low and medium root to create variety of infections, treating those affecting the lungs. I typically purchase it through Barlow. Barlow is a great brand of herbals. Absolutely. I just got hooked up with Herb Farm one time at a huge health convention because they were the nice people. And when I used the product, I saw the changes. And that to me is really, really important, is I wanted to make sure that whatever I was using was having that effectiveness. And that definitely came through with the Herb Farm product. So that's why I like that. So the Vibrant Blue Oil is the parasympathetic. Here, I'll write it. And I actually have a coupon code for the parasympathetic that I will share in the follow-up email. There's a thing where it will have some coupon codes. There's a discount right now on the parasympathetic, and then for the positive power, including the cell power and the immune power support, or that complex, there's some coupons that you can use with that as well. So I will send that in the follow-up. There are going to be some coupon codes for a few things, and then how I get the other ones. But parasympathetic and the immune support are the two from Vibrant Blue that are great to have on hand. I just ran out of those with what happened with my husband. Nicole, you said a question about super silica.
I was wondering if it can be added to like a protein shake. Like if I use water to make my protein shake, could I add it in there if it would mess up the absorption?
It will mess up the absorption because
Okay.
it's diminishing the energy. So think about rocks. Rocks are minerals. And if you're putting them in water and you have flows of energy that go through that water, a rock is going to slow down that energy. So when you're putting other particulates in the water, when it's not just water with the super silica, you're going to lose that energy. So the absorption is not going to be as much. You do still get a better absorption than you would with other supplements that are silica, because the size of the silica particle is so small with the super silica. So you will be absorbing it, but not at near the level that you would if you had the energy. So Sonia, you were asking about coffee enema hacks. Best to do prior to illness, no energy if deeply sick. Depends on your situation. I have not done any coffee enemas when I was sick, but I don't get sick very frequently. It's super rare for me. A coffee enema, for those of you that don't know, coffee enemas are very good at helping to stimulate the liver to produce more bile so that it has more of a flow to clean out the intestine. I am not big on doing too much pressure on the liver while you're sick. Now, with that being said, that could be one of those precursor things that you do on a regular basis. Since we moved recently, I am not as good at remembering to do coffee enemas. For over a year, I did one a week. It was just kind of my maintenance thing because I grew up with a lot of liver kind of problems. And so that was something that I wanted to do on a regular basis, make sure that I was supporting my liver. And so a coffee enema is a great way to do that. I have instructions for coffee enemas that I give to my clients when they're ready for that. Some people aren't ready for coffee enemas, but I had my little kit my enema kit for probably 6 months before I ever used it, because I was so scared to do it. And I'm like, after I did, I'm like, why was that such a big deal? It wasn't a big deal. So prior to illness, one of those kind of maintenance things that you normally do to take care of yourself, great tool to use. When you're sick, I probably wouldn't do that if you're, having issues. As far as colds and flus, I try and let them take their course and do as much precursors to do that. I just did a liver flush recently, third one that I've done, and the liver flush makes you completely exhausted. So, if you are sick, I would definitely not do a liver flush because that's going to be a little too much on your body's energy level. But, remember that it's all about energy. Something else that I didn't even think about that I will share with you now. I had a situation, oh my gosh, back in 2015 where I had a infection in my leg. And in one of my energy technique books, I discovered that I could hold my thumb to support the immune system. And you can actually hold both of your thumbs. So if you want to do this with me, you can grab your thumb and then stick this thumb out and then wrap this thumb around. So you're actually holding both of your thumbs. So you're holding both your thumbs. That can be a way to support your immune system. And when I had this really bad infection, I was actually sleeping on the couch because I was so uncomfortable. I didn't want to keep my husband awake, and he needed to sleep just as much as I did. But I would fall asleep holding my thumb, and it doesn't matter. You can hold either one. It's not like there's a right or wrong because they're both there. But holding my thumb, and I would fall asleep, and you can hold it this way, you can hold it this way, it doesn't matter. I would fall asleep holding my thumb, and I would wake up holding my thumb. And I am a really restless sleeper, but it must be my body was saying, yes, I want that immune system support that can come with holding my thumb. So there are a lot of different energy techniques that you can use for supporting your immune system. And that is a real simple one. The thumb is related to worry. And it also is the stomach and spleen. So great tool when you're having problems with your immune system. I appreciate you being here with me. It means the world to me that you came back to watch the webinar today. I will send that PDF with the links for where I source my stuff as soon as I get all of the video stuff up on YouTube and get the little email set up, and I'll send that to my new VA, and hopefully he'll be able to get that out to you soon.